All right. Day 3 is here. Day 3 on the vlog. Here we go. The vlog that has no name. But one day this vlog will have a name. So, I've been telling you about my days. Sure. I think that we'll maybe continue that. Maybe we won't. I'm not sure. All I know is I'm supposed to do a video a day. I had this vision 2 weeks ago, and every time I'm given a vision, I definitely take action. So here we are, daily vlog, countdown on. Okay, so actually today is New Year's Eve, and it's 10 p.m. and I'm here in my prayer corner making this video for you because 1, well, I'm not a party girl. 2, I have my kids and they're all at their friends' houses, but it's just me and little Jones. We've had a lovely evening. We went over to my sister's and played games and all of the things, and now he's just kind of resting. I'm making this video for you. So I was thinking, let's not talk about today, even though today was an epic day, and that could be a whole video. It feels as though today we do a recap of 2025. 2025, wow. 1 year ago right now, I had no idea what was about to happen. On the outside, 2025 was the raddest year of all time, and it was the raddest. But 2025 broke me 100%. And in that breaking, it made me, really. So let's start from the beginning. Yes, shall we? January 2025, I took out a $115,000 loan from Stripe. Thank you, Stripe. Stripe is one of my best places that I get loans. And I put on my very first live event. I had never thrown a live event. And not only did I throw a live event, I decided to throw 2 events in one. So the first 2 days, I had it be a JOA event, and we only had JOA authors there. We had 40 of my current clients at this event. The other 2 days was a completely open event to the world. And I'm not sure why I thought I would do 2 events on the same week for the first time I'm doing a live event, but that's how I go. I just go big or go home. And at the first event, where it was my current clients, 40 of them, I launched a $77,000 offer from the stage in my sweats. And in 5 minutes, I sold $1.2 million. And I dare say there are very few who have that story. So I am honored to hold that story. Now, that broke me. Weird, right? But here's why, is that I hadn't quite hit the capacity of the woman that could sell 1.2 million from the stage. And I write about this in my book, Transfiguration, which I wrote this year, about the path of the prophet. And I will say that I am a prophetess, and anyone who's willing to sit with God to ask, listen, and do is a prophet or a prophetess. We are the ones who are going to bring through powerful information to the world. And I did not have the capacity to hold the greatness that God had for me. It was interesting, I had this huge expanse, January, literally the 1st of January. And this $77,000 was the best offer of all time because it got people on my TV show that they got to go to a sacred island in the middle of the British Virgin Islands. They got to write their book on the island and be on a TV show while writing their book and have their book published and be in a mastermind for a year working on their business and their message. And that was $77K. So I planned to only have 1 season, but we outsold that season in 5 minutes. So right there on the stage, I said, then we're opening up 2 seasons. So 2025 began the year off pretty wild. And then we went about, a month. So I did my live event in January, but before the live event, I went to Kauai and I took 3 authors with me to write their books in Kauai. Juliet Wright came along with us. She was our book cover designer and also my best friend. And we wrote our books at the top of this mountain in Kauai. I mean, is anything better than that? Pretty much no. So the first week of January, I'm in Kauai with 3 authors. The end of January, we have the live event, 1.2 million from the stage. Then in March, literally 2 weeks later, after having this wild event, I'm in Costa Rica with 3 new authors and Juliet, and I'm helping these 3 authors write their books literally underneath the Costa Rican jungle, and I fall in love with Costa Rica, which began like this journey of Costa Rica this year. So we go to Costa Rica in March, and something else happened in March. Darn it, I don't even know. I'd have to look at it. It doesn't matter. Oh, I know. The beginning of April, I take 15 authors to the sacred island. There's a sacred island in the British Virgin Islands. It's called Ariel Island, Buck Island. My dear friend Brittany owns it. And there's just something about this island that is magical. And I mean it. And the island works with me. Like the land speaks to me. And when I'm there helping people channel books, like it's just like magic. Everybody's books come through with so much ease, and nobody leaves the same. So I always say this, the island is an activator. So however you show up, it just activates it. It magnifies it. So the first 3 days on the island, always, every time I've been, and now I have been 5 times, it always is like the dark night of the soul for me every damn time, because whatever, like I'm just like whatever darkness or grief or pain or whatever I'm in, it gets magnified on the island. But then by day 3, there's like this magical transformation that happens, and the next 2 days are just like bliss. It is fascinating. It's fascinating. I'm obsessed with this island. So April, I take authors to the island. March, I go back to Costa Rica. So February, March, and May, I go to Costa Rica this year. I went with 3 authors each time. So we did 9 authors in Costa Rica, helped them write the most amazing books. I mean, these books are so good. Most of them are either being published right now or about to be published. Such magical, extraordinary experiences. Costa Rica is, I just love Costa Rica. And I just, I'm bougie. Like, I cannot help it. I have always been this way. Like, to the point that when I was 16, I had 3 jobs so I could buy clothes at Nordstrom's. Like, I've just always had gold blood. And I found this house in Costa Rica that is like level 10 magnificent. And we had our own chefs, and the chefs would cook us whatever we wanted, and glorious meals. And one of my favorite things that we would do every time we went to Costa Rica is I would take the authors to ride four-wheelers through the jungle. And like, it's just like always the funnest. There's like howler monkeys over us, and we get to this huge cliff, and then we zip line through the jungle. And the first time we went, I'm like terrified of heights, but I knew the authors needed to be pushed past their fears to be able to write their books. So I'm like, Kira, just deal with your fear of height. And I get there, and there's this cute little Costa Rican man. He's like 4 foot nothing, and his name is Spaghetti. And so in his good graces, he went on every zip with me. 9 zips. I sat on Spaghetti's lap, and the whole time he would just whisper into my ear, "You are safe. I have got you." It was everything. So thank you, Spaghetti, because then the second time I went to Costa Rica, I actually was able to go without Spaghetti. I went by myself, pretty proud. The third time I went to Costa Rica, I had my legs upside down, Spider-Man all the way through the 9 zips. And that was a huge accomplishment for me. And also, there's nothing that I love more in this world than to sit with leaders in prayer. And there's something about this prayer nook I had in Costa Rica. It was literally like we had it cultivated just for this. It was this gazebo that looked out over the jungle. And every morning I would sit there in my prayers, and I would bless my body, and I would meet with God. And I remember one day I was just praying, and what was it? I think it was like an armadillo that just walked on by me. Just wild. It was just wild. And then one night, oh my gosh, this is one of my favorite stories. One night, we would always go out in there. We'd always bless our bodies before the day begins. We'd always end with the blessing of the body. And we were out in our prayer corner, and it had been such a long day. I think we had zip-lined, and we'd written thousands and thousands of words, and it takes a lot of energy for me to sit and help 3 books be written in 1 week. And so I was exhausted. And so I've got my eyes closed, and I have my prayer shawl on, and I'm blessing my body. And I fall asleep mid-prayer while all the authors are like, wow, Kira must be getting like a really good download right now. And I just fall straight asleep. And then there's like this huge noise that happens in the jungle. And I wake up, and we all just like run 1,000,000 miles an hour. We're laughing so hard we pee our pants. That was a good moment. Just so many great moments with authors on these trips. It's just something I love so deeply. One of my favorite memories of Costa Rica, and this is, no, sorry, not Costa Rica, of the Sacred Island in April, was that there was this lizard, and he was very specific. Like, we knew what lizard it was because he had this very specific tail that looked like a dinosaur, and he had a serious love affair with me. I'm hoping... I was like, oh my gosh, I can't get a man, but I can get a lizard to fall in love with me. And I'm not kidding you, like, this lizard loved me. And it began when I was in this, I had this cave that I prayed with people in, and we channeled books. And it was me and Katori, and we're in this cave channeling her book. And then this lizard, like, literally just starts walking towards me. And I was like, this lizard is intense, buddy. Like, you gotta back it up. But he just kept coming towards me, and we ended up running away. I was not a fan of him. The next morning, I'm leading prayers on the deck, and I'm on my prayer mat, and all of a sudden, I had told them about the lizard. And I was like, this guy is like super intense. They got a picture. He had crawled up onto my prayer mat and was literally praying next to me. It was the craziest thing of my life. And everywhere I went on that island, that lizard was there. And then we had a wedding on the island, and I got to officiate it, and it was so magical. Christine and Jeff got married on the island, on my favorite place of the island, which is this circular wooden plank in the middle of the ocean. It's just magic. And so the island, oh my gosh, the staff put this beautiful wedding together for them. And sure enough, when I was officiating the wedding, look on down, and there was my lizard lover. Literally, he's just sitting right there. And I was like, bro, like, you gotta back it up. I remember one morning we came down to do the warrior dance, which is something I always do on the island. And there was a pillow on the plank, the wooden plank, and he was on the pillow just waiting for me. So there was a huge joke during the April Island of my lizard lover who just was obsessed with me, and quite intense. So that was like such a funny memory, but also just so many good memories from that trip. So many amazing books coming out from the people who wrote on that island trip. And then in May, we went back to Costa Rica again. Now, mind you, in between all of these trips, every other week I was living a week in Miami. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Oh my gosh. So if I wasn't at the island, I was home raising my children, and then I would get home and I would go straight to Miami. And I lived in Miami 1 week a month for 7 months because we were filming 40 episodes of Legacy Makers. Rudy Moore has a TV series, and it's called Legacy Makers, and it's these docu-series of leaders. And I had 40 episodes, and all of my authors were coming to make their documentaries in Miami. So I was living in Miami 1 week a month, which was wild. Also, I have a deep love of Miami. One day I will most likely have a house in Miami. My favorite musician is J Balvin, which is reggaeton, and I have listened to him for like 7 years. I'm like his biggest fan. Like, Spotify gave me a t-shirt. Like, I am literally J Balvin's biggest fan. And J Balvin is everywhere in Miami. I mean, it's just like the rhythm of Miami. So I lived such a wild life from January to July. Either I was in Miami or I was in Star, Idaho, raising my children, or I was in Costa Rica, or I was in Miami, or I was on the private island, or I was in Costa Rica, or I was in Miami. Like, it was crazy. In the middle of this, we were also prepping for our TV show that we shot in June. So we went back to the Sacred Island in June and shot the TV show on the island. 15 authors writing their books. Nothing has felt more right in my life than this. And while I wish that the TV show was ready, it's not. It's fine. Patience is not my gift. But we are almost done editing season 1, and it will be live soon. There's no words to explain the power of this show. To have it be no scripts, no makeup. I mean, half the time my legs weren't shaved. Half the time I look ridiculous because no one told me what I look like. And I don't really care. That's not what the TV show is about. It's about leaders going and sitting at the foot of God and hearing the most important messages and then writing them into books. And this is what I get to do every day of my life, but to have it on a TV show, I don't know. It was it. Like, this was like the culmination of my life's work put into this series, and you guys will fall in love with these leaders, these women, and the one man who was brave enough to come and be on a show with 14 other women. And you're going to fall in love with their bravery and their courage, and you're going to feel that they have been called. And you know it was important and special when our cameramen, their lives changed from recording this TV show. Actually, I had one of the cameramen reach out to me today via DM, and he was just like, I just want you to know that my life completely changed from filming your TV show. And it's helped my journey to know God. And that's when you know we've done something. And so leading up to that TV show was, oh man, it was a really intense time. It was really exciting. And also I feel like I was drowning in a lower level of depression. This whole year there was like this low grade depression running, which is interesting because if you look at this, you're like, wow, this is like the most exciting life of all time, right? Like, I was living in like private islands for billionaires and multi-million-dollar homes in Costa Rica and living in Miami, right on the beach boulevard, having the time of my life. And there was like this low grade depression that just was kind of like lingering. It was a lot on my system. I traveled every 5 to 6 days. So I would literally leave on a Sunday and I would travel across the world, Costa Rica, private island, Miami, all of them are across the world from Idaho. And I would either help people write books, or I would shoot TV, or I'd be running a TV show. And then I would get on a plane and fly home and get home on a Sunday night, pick my kids up from their dads, and then I would be a single mom all week. And I just did that for 7 months. And clearly it was too much for my body because I ended up having 4 grand mal seizures. My first one was in February. A week later, I had another one. Then I had 2 more later on. It was a lot on my body. And when the last one hit, I knew I was actually done doing adventures. I knew that I needed to stop traveling so much. I needed to ground my body. And I now see it as like it was a recalibration. My system was recalibrating to the new version of who I became this year. Recalibrating to the version of going from last year I had 1 employee, and by May we had 10. By now we have 15 employees. And so I used to have $7,000 that went out a month in employee pay. and now I have 50,000 a month. And so to become the woman who just has a recurring revenue of 50K going out to employees, a lot of me had to die. And I feel like the seizures were like a death. There were pieces of me that had to die. There's a lot of loneliness in this year. I've been on like maybe 6 dates total. Maybe 10. This path is lonely. Very few walk this path. And so it was, I remember when I had one of my seizures, I was in the middle of having a seizure and all my kids were at home. I mean, they were all at their dad's. It was my week alone. And I called 911. Well, this is hard. I don't know if I want to tell this story. And all these firemen came into my room. And they said, "Who do you have that we can call?" And I looked at them and I had my TV poster on the wall and I was working on my book. And I was like, I have a TV show coming out. I'm writing my 7th book. I'm running a multi-million-dollar company, and damn it, I don't have one person I can call who lived by me. And that was when I really understood, like, the path of leadership is just a lonely path. And it just is. And, but it was like a bit of a wake-up call for me of like, I think maybe I should maybe find my feet also in the town that I live. Even though I've got, you know, clients all over the world and I'm doing all these epic things, like I just have like no community here because how? I'm just always gone, right? And so while it was like the best 7 months of my life, it was also the most intense. And while we were, you know, starting to make 100,000 a month, it just like was never enough. And that's the craziest part that no one tells you about starting to really scale your company, is that a lot of money is needed to run a full multi-million-dollar company. So I had to get comfortable with that. I had to get comfortable with the amount of money needed to run my company. And that took a bit. And it took a lot of shedding. And it took a lot of letting go of fear and doubt and lack. And something I missed was in March. Was it March? No, it was February. I was supposed to go to February. I was going to go meet this man who had met in Miami, and we had been talking a lot, and he was a good guy. And we were going to go to Portugal together. And I was so excited. I was going to meet him in Portugal, and then I had a seizure, and they were like, "You cannot fly to Portugal." And so that trip was off, and instead I spent a week and I channeled my newest book, which is called Transfiguration. And this is probably the most powerful book I've ever channeled. God had me gather holy text from every religion, the Mormon religion, the Christian religion, the Jewish religion, and Islam. And I was guided to bring in all the holy texts from all the religions to show that we all worship the same God, and how similar all the holy texts are. And it was such a beautiful experience writing this book. I tell a lot about the stories of the prophets and the path of the prophet. And I think many leaders will find themselves in these stories. I don't know if it's ever been told in the way that I was shown to write this book. So I wrote that book in February, and then it went on the back burner because clearly I was a bit busy. And June was like the pinnacle of like all of the travel began to slow down in June, because in May I had a seizure on an airplane. And I was a little bit like, all right, we're gonna have to slow down this travel. I'm gonna help take care of this body. But we didn't actually slow down until August, because June, we shot the TV show. I got home from the TV show, raised my children for a week, as I do. And then I got on a plane with my 3 older boys. This was probably the best part of the whole year, is I flew my oldest boy, Kale, Eli, and Beck, so 20, 17, 15, first class to Japan. And I put them up in like first class hotels, and we had the best trip of our life. And I just felt so grateful that as a single mom, I was able to treat my boys to such an extraordinary adventure. And to show them, like, this is what's possible when you follow your dreams. This is what's possible when you go all in on life. So you get to live an extraordinary life. And I told them, like, this is your floor. Like, go build a life like this. Go build a life where you get to go live, where you get to have extraordinary memories. And it was the best trip of our whole literal existence. And I got home from that trip, raised my children again, and then left for Miami and did my final trip to Miami in July, which was sad and wonderful. It felt really good to complete such a wild 7 months of travel and shooting TV and going all over the world. And I started to like settle in to living in my small little farm town. And then I would say that life got really hard. I realized that I had been traveling every 6 days for the last 2.5 years. I had been, before 2025, I'd been traveling literally every 6 days, taking people on adventures to write books. And when I stopped traveling, I had to deal with the loneliness of divorce. And I realized that I had been running from it since my divorce. And it was time. I was ready. I was ready to face it. And it wasn't easy. There's been a lot of therapy and a lot of healing, a lot of crying. And it was time. And so I feel like the last half of this year was deep, deep work, as well as really understanding how to maintain a multi-million-dollar company. Something that no one's taught me, right? Like no one, I haven't been to a day of college in my life. And so there was like a massive learning curve. And there was a lot of mistakes made as it works. There's a lot of growth. Oh, there was something so massive I didn't tell you. Oh my gosh, I did not tell you this. Okay, rewind just a little bit. This is a very long video. If you've made it this far, 10 stars for you. But I am happy. I am documenting this for me. So I forgot that in February, when I had my first seizure, God told me I needed to move. So I had lived in Meridian, which was a 40-minute drive to my kids' school, which meant I was driving 3 hours a day with traffic. And I had been doing that for 2 years. And after my seizure, God said, you need to move, and you need to move closer to their school. And I was like, sure. You see how busy I am. I didn't listen to God. A week later, I had another seizure. And I got the message. All right, God, I'm moving. So I went out and found a new house 24 hours later. And within, within 1 week, we had moved. I broke my lease. We moved to this cute little town called Star. And we got this beautiful, newly built home that was a rental that was cheaper than my other rental. And now it was 15 minutes from their school. So that drastically changed my life because I wasn't driving 3 hours a day anymore, which before I was driving 3 hours a day, which was exhausting. And so that was a big shift. And we got to move back into like the farmlands. Like there's a cow in my neighborhood and we live next to a horse farm. So we like horses and baby horses and it's just like magical. I get to watch. This is a big piece. Oh my gosh, this is such a big piece. So when I was married, we had all this land and we had the perfect view. We faced the mountains in Idaho and I had a tent on the land. And if you've watched my YouTube video, I'm like in a tent in a lot of them. That was my prayer tent and it faced the mountains and I would watch the sunrise every morning. And that was one of the saddest parts of my divorce was leaving my sacred tent and leaving my mountains. And so I asked God, please God, could you please give me a house that faces the mountains again so I can pray and watch the sunrise again. And when I found this house, I came up into the bedroom and I opened the windows and I'm not kidding you. It is literally exactly the same place where my tent was. The same literal like latitude, longitude, like it was in the same location. My tent was just a little bit further closer to the mountains because now I'm in Star and not Middleton. And oh my gosh, I wept like God had answered my prayers. It was the most beautiful gift. So that happened. Now I want to remind you, we're going backwards because I'm seeing some memories. So in January 2025, God said, you need to go to Alex Hormozi's event in Vegas. And now I was not an Alex Hormozi like junkie. I'd never read a book. I never really even watched his content. But when God said that, I was like, all right. So I get on a sales call, I book it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to Alex Hormozi's in May. Now, when I get to Alex Hormozi's, it like changes my whole life. And I get to be coached by Alex for like 10 minutes. He literally changes my life in 10 minutes. And then I get the letter that says, hey, Alex would like to work with you on your business. It's $135,000. Now, mind you, I'm like renting islands right now for $200,000 every time. I'm now spending $1.2 million on a TV show. I have got money going out like crazy. But I knew I was supposed to work with Alex Hormozi, so I sign up. And this was one of the best decisions I ever made because to go to the day with Alex, you have to have all of your numbers completely put together in business. And that had never been the case for me. So we got all of our numbers like so clean and we became a real business. And I feel it like all of a sudden I was like, oh, now I'm a company. Like I actually know my numbers. I know all the pieces. I know all the inner workings. And that was worth, honestly, getting that together was worth the $135 I spent just to make me get that done. But then I went and spent a day with Alex and 8 other entrepreneurs in Vegas for a whole day. And it was extraordinary. I feel very blessed. I feel like Alex is actually a friend and someone I can reach out and ask for help from, which seems crazy that I can say that, but I do feel that. And he really, really made a massive difference for me in my life in helping me get more clear and more focused. So that happened in the first week of September. No, just kidding. The first week of September. And then we started doing, instead of adventures, because now I didn't want to be flying all the time, we found this mansion in Boise, this magical house. And we started to bring authors here. And I found that we got more written. Well, because Boise's a bit boring. It's beautiful, but it's boring, right? When you go to Costa Rica, you're like, we should go ziplining through the jungle because we're in Costa Rica. And I'm like, we're in Nampa, Idaho. Let's go for a walk. We can go look at some cornfields. Now get back to writing your book. Like, we get so much done here in Boise. So we started doing that in September, doing these immersions. Wildly successful, helping people bring through their messages with so much ease. It was so delightful, loving it. Then September, we go back to the Sacred Island to shoot season 2. And this one was really, really powerful. Because on the show, we have a Muslim woman, a Jewish woman, a Catholic woman, a Christian woman, all different faiths coming together, praying together. And I feel like it's going to really do something in the world to see the unity that we can all pray together. Oh, it was so beautiful. And that season was amazing, just like season 1. Life-changing, 15 more authors coming to write their books. Actually, I think we had 16 authors in season 2. And people from all over the world. We had people flying in from England and Canada. I mean, people from all over the world coming to the Sacred Island to be on this show. So excited for that season to hit the world. We came back from the island and had an immersion here. And then I rented the JOA house, and Juliet brought all 4 of her kids and her husband, and I brought all 5 of my kids to the JOA house. It's this mansion that we use here in Nampa, Idaho. And we had a huge birthday celebration with my children and her children, and it was everything, and it was amazing. And then I had a book launch for Transfiguration here at the JOA house, and we had authors flying from all over the world to come and sit in prayer. That's all I wanted to do for my book launch. And so we sat in prayer, we launched Transfiguration into the world, put it up on Amazon because God told me to have it go live on my birthday. But I didn't really follow the rules of publishing. Weird. I'm a publisher, but I'm pretty sure that's like par for the course. And I did not put my book through editing. That was really cool. So 2 weeks after it went live, I sat down to record the Audible, and I was like, what the hell is this? This is a hot mess. I called my sister who works for my publishing house. I'm like, take my book off Amazon. She's like, what are you saying? I'm like, take my book off Amazon now. Like, it's not ready. Oh my gosh, I want to die. And so we took it off Amazon. And for the last few months, I've been like deeply editing it. And it will go live again, completed this time, February 17th, 2026. So pretty much, what a year. And in 2024, we barely hit 1 million at JOA. In 2025, we hit 3 million. And I say that because the measure of that is really important. Who I had to become. Who I had to become to build that was a completely new version. And so much of me had to die. And I would say that the low-grade fever, not really, but the low-grade depression that really found its way through my life this whole year left 2 weeks ago. And when it left, I felt like I could breathe again. And it left because I feel like I finally became her. Like I had been fighting to keep my old ways. And it's interesting, God has taught me this lesson many times over and over, how the children of Israel, they, for generations, they begged to be freed from slavery. And when Moses freed them, after they made it to the wilderness, you know, they're no longer taskmasters. They're no longer being whipped. They're no longer having to, you know, be slaves. They started to complain in their freedom. And they said it was better to be a slave than to be walking in the wilderness, because they knew what it was like to be a slave. They knew when their food was coming. They knew when they did something wrong that they would get beaten, but they knew it. And familiar is chosen over the unfamiliar. And so they would have rather been slaves than to just be walking through the wilderness without any clue of how to be free. And God has taught this to me over and over again. And that is what I feel like I went through this year, was I had to release my old patterns, the old patterns of fear, the old patterns of trauma and drama, and I had to release it to become the woman who could take her company to 3 million. And I fought it. Like, I didn't want to release the old identity. But what I found is that it's in the releasing that the relief comes. And so I stand on the other side of this year in gratitude. In gratitude for the stress. I spent $1.2 million on a TV show. I spent like $800,000 on renting islands. We rented $1 million homes in Costa Rica that cost us tens of thousands of dollars to put those together. This was a year of some wild leaps. And while we made 3 million, every dollar went back into the company. And I think that's really important to say, because most people want to sit and brag. And I am here to tell you the truth, that this space right here is the itchiest. And so I will hit 10 million in 2026, and we will get out of the 3 million, what I'm going to call the most intense place I've ever been in my life, financially and in business. And I'm so excited for 2026 to just blow right past that. But what I'm most grateful for this year is that every vision that God told me would happen, happened. Every vision that God spoke into existence, I lived. And it was my deepest honor to sit in prayer with leaders, to hear the most important messages, and to watch them come to the world and publish books, knowing that these will live beyond our lives. That these books will live beyond us. And there is something so sacred and holy about this work. So I am grateful. I am grateful that this year broke me and made me. And I am so excited. I am so excited for 2026. Happy New Year.